I am here. My name is Eric, as you all know, for I am going to be delivering a message that more and more sightings of our ships. Besides that, there will also be gradual knowledge being revealed about us and our civilization, as well as others. We're also coordinating with certain government officials in order to have some of this information to be released. And around sometime, all I can say is it's more later in the year than you would think. Just gathering the information to see what's to be discussed. For we are here to coordinate, deliver, and approve of the information that needs to be delivered to you. We will just say that I have been working diligently for this information to be released. For now, we'll just give you that little small message, for there will be more delivered throughout this year that will also be leading up to, depending on when the window of disclosure fully happens within the public. So we will let you open up to the questions and answers for right now. There is more to be discussed, and we share some of the questions will also reveal some information that needs to be discussed.
So the timetable for open contact generally has remained the same. However,
Yes.
there's a lot of world events that have been happening. And when you say that we have been in contact with governments and so forth, are some of the events that are occurring right now in the world in any way affecting the timetable? Moving it forward or backwards? Yeah.
There's more going on that you don't know, and the timetable has not been affected at all. From what we understand, there's still that window of time for what you see on the outer surface is not going to affect the contact as we see it.
So there's nothing in the horizon that you can see that could be a disruptor from that original estimate?
From,
Let's say a war, a major war.
there has been already been interferences with us and a nuclear launch facility, so there's not really much worry about a major catastrophe of that scale, depending, because we also use energies to mitigate these certain destructive tendencies.
Okay, thank you. Ray, please.
Thank you, and that's very exciting. It's my understanding that while the timing has not been affected, the way that open contact will unfold is still undecided based on how humans will react and our vibrational frequency and the powers that are in specific leading specific countries, we will say. Is that what you see on your end or experience?
Not all countries will accept in the beginning. It will be a slow change, and that's why the change will be extended going all the way to 2050. So in that way, yes.
Can you tell us which governments will be or which countries will be experiencing open contact first, like the first several?
We cannot discuss certain specifics at this time.
Hey, thanks for checking, Eric. I appreciate that. Because Bashar has told us that the ships will be appearing not only more frequently, but when open contact occurs, they will sit off of the coast in international waters for about 3 days, so there will be no denying that they are here. And I was just curious which oceans or which coasts they might be appearing. And thank you for coming forth too, Eric.
The members of this group here, what do the members of this group, what kind of advice would you offer us to be better prepared for what's coming in 2026?
Go within without fear and know that we are arriving. So it's basically to go within.
Are you seeing that more and more people are doing that?
There are still people creating fears. There's no giving about that. But within this style of community, there are more people going within.
Is the cohesiveness of this country would it be better or worse during the initial period of open contact?
Both. Some parts will benefit from it. Some parts, it'll basically be dependent on the people running certain areas.
Are you free to comment on what areas, how they would react? What is anticipated?
At this time, the channel has not a lot of knowledge of different areas, so he cannot comment on specific areas that he's not familiar with. But
okay.
I am basing this knowledge on what the channel has known, but also extending the knowledge to certain aspects of my own knowledge. But for that, there is a limitation here.
Thank you. Understand. Ray, please.
And thank you. Now, and there will be individual open contacts before there is the global open contact. So I know I'm looking forward to my own personal open contact, and will have telepathic knowledge of more details as that is necessary for me. Is there anyone else, or can you comment on those personal contacts?
We cannot comment on any specific individual, but we can say that there is going to be a variety of different fluctuations of that context depending on the individual's readiness for contact with us and others that are of similar or much greater degree.
Okay, that makes sense. And yeah, we're not asking you to release any confidential information. We're not upsetting the plan. We're looking forward to it. But it makes sense that anyone who is telepathically connected to extraterrestrials who are involved in open contact, like yourself or like Travis, then those would have kind of a front row telepathic seat to those events happening.
In many ways, yes, but there's also dependent on the individual's readiness, for there are still fluctuations within this channel that is the reason why the information is very sparse and more gradual.
That makes sense. And also, I know that the dream states are involved in this as well. I am quite active in my dream stating, doing some coordinations from that level. And a lot of them involve little children, but I don't have specifics on if they are the hybrid children or not, but I assume that they are. But I don't know that for sure. Can you give us any idea of when the hybrid children will be here after open contact occurs? 2 to 3 years?
Well, as it would be, most of the information about the hybrids will be revealed during the introduction of open contact. So the hybrid children will be depending on mixed stages, and it's going to probably be shortly after, depending on the hybrid children's connection to the specific individuals, but it'll basically be a gradual shift.
And it is my understanding that the hybrid children who look more human-like the Pleiadians or the Yahyels, will be the ones who will be coming in, and then those of other races like the Sasani mixes, which have a higher vibrational frequency, will be phased in later as humanity's vibration is able to accept that higher vibration, correct?
So by Pleiadian hybrids, you mean those that have our DNA?
Human and Pleiadian DNA, yes.
That was just needed for clarification. It'll also be dependent on frequency, and yes, you are right in some aspects, for there are certain things going on that need to be introduced, and the ones that are more human-like will be introduced first. Then it will be. There are going to be adoption agencies as well, and you will see more of this introduced as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anita, please.
Thank you so much for this interaction. I really appreciate this opportunity. My question is, you had talked about going within. Can you explain a little further? And I have a second part to that question too.
Going within?
Yes.
It's the same as when you maintain an internal frequency, internal vibration, you're a certain state where your body can remain in a more relaxed state. It means going within your own internal frequency and allowing that to guide you.
Okay.
Through meditation and other practices that may help you go within your own natural state, can be utilized as permission slips.
That answers my second question, which is what particular permission slips could I utilize to facilitate open contact personally for me?
And that's okay. Every individual has a different utilization of permission slips that will help them go within. There is some utilize certain aspects like physiological aspects like psychedelics and stuff like that. Some utilize more simple aspects like meditation, which is much more accessible around the planet.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So you mentioned that certain levels of information will be made available in the very early part of open contact. And that obviously seems to assume that there will be governments or large organizations that can disseminate information that will be used. Is that correct?
It'll be a mixture, but yes, in ways there will be certain revelations depending on what's needed. For there are certain individuals that are assisting with this, as I said, behind the scenes information will be revealed. So all you just need to do is just know that it will happen. For there are people that you don't know about that will be revealed. Some people are also kept secret for a certain timing about it.
You also mentioned something about adoption agencies.
That's for the hybrid children specifically, yes.
Okay, for the hybrid children. So that will be somewhat in the future. So open contact has already happened. And so there's
it will probably happen slightly before, but it also happen. But the revelations of their existence will be sometime after the introductions.
and it would be safe to say that that's a little bit in the future, beyond the initial open contact period. So
not too far.
Not too far. So the expectation is that things will go very, very quickly then, from the period of open contact to a period of alignment and merging with the hybrid children and others, ETs that will show up.
It will be accelerated to a certain degree, for the advancement of technology is also going to help benefit this idea of, to a certain degree. Yes, there will be more acceleration after open contact. It'll be much more faster, but it'll still take about a couple of decades, around 2050, for the acceleration to reach a stage where your world's in a much more interstellar alignment.
Will you be working directly with engineers and scientists, the guys that now we can consider to some extent to be hackers, but that are extremely capable scientists and engineers, to assist the dissemination of the information that can help the world in a manner in which there's a more balance, control of that? It's not all in the domain of corporations and governments and nations.
There will be many different members of our society, as well as others, that will be assisting, but we're also already doing that now, but we're just doing it behind the scenes. But more publicly, yes, there will be more.
Okay, thank you. Ray, please.
Christina Anna has a question too, but if the information isn't released by the governments as they may agree, will you be finding other avenues to get that information out as part of the overall mission?
There will already be a need and necessity for this information to be released. So it's not that they will be able to keep holding on to it. It's that that the information will have no choice but to be released, whether by them or by other public avenues.
So right now they have the illusion of control. And if they don't step up, then they will find that that information gets out without their knowledge or without their input, we will say. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Christiana.
Thank you. Hello, Eric.
Greetings.
Greetings to you. I believe open contact goes hand in hand with sharing of information of part of our history, or at least one relevant timeline. So I was wondering how that is going and how governments are coping with this, because I believe the sharing of our history will cause quite a stir in the societies. So how is that getting along?
We're definitely aware, and this is not our first rodeo of what we've done on other worlds. So we're aware of how to go about this in giving you the history that's needed for your entire civilization. So it's not that we're unaware of how to do it. We are fully aware of how to go about having this information released.
Thank you.
Ray, go ahead.
I thought Anita was next.
Oh, that's right. Anita is there.
Thank you again for this interaction, Eric. My question is regarding the fact that governments have been somewhat successful up until this point in suppressing the ET information or narrative or so my question is regarding like Black Flag events, where the government tries to control the narrative and portray ETs as dangerous to humanity. And how will we deal with that? How will we know what is true ET contact and what is coming from the government?
There will always be knowledge on this for government controlled. Governments never perfected any of our technology, so in that way, they won't be able to utilize the full capabilities of that in a controlled manner. For you all should know how we operate, and that will be dependent on that. Should be for the public narrative. It'll be up to them to decide, but that will be dependent whether the governments are successful in this or not. But they will. But there may be some tricks to see through this type of illusion that anyone could probably see through.
Well, I'm very glad that information is disseminated through channeling, and that's something hard for governments to control. So I really appreciate this group and for you coming in and enlightening us. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ray, please.
Thank you. Is your ship still over Mount Shasta, or I know you mentioned
Precisely.
okay. I know you mentioned that was a spirit chakra point, which was very interesting before.
Well, it was also confirmed by Bashar as well before I said anything, but there are reasons why we're over here. For spirit is connected to the idea of contact, for it needs to be balanced out on certain regions of your planet, and that's why every region is being balanced out by different energy points. Different civilizations, different races are assisting with these energy points as well.
Thank you. And speaking of Bashar, he had mentioned that he was part, or their race, the Sasani race, was part of an open contact scenario which did not go really well, and that eventually they were able to work that out, but it took some time. Have you personally or your species been part of any open contact which did not go according to plan?
There are some, yes. What? It was mostly introduced through an act of a certain field, a more natural evolution. What we tried to do is introduce ourselves to a certain degree a little too soon than the civilization could handle, so things went awry in that. But that's been refixed for the protocols. We understand what we need to do to understand that these societies need a certain amount of timing before they're ready to meet certain civilizations of certain frequencies and vibrations.
That makes sense, but it's interesting from our point of view that there was a little bit of trial and error. We're just glad you got the kinks worked out before you try it here. Do your races or other races consider the Anunnaki coming to humanity however many hundreds of thousands of years ago to be open contact when humans were created?
Clarify that message of what you said about the Anunnaki.
Well, per Bashar and others, the Anunnaki had altered, we will say, Homo habilis or Homo erectus.
Homo erectus.
To create the humans which we are, and those hominids which were not altered became Sasquatch. So I know that is a contact, but I'm assuming it's not considered an open contact because there was no human civilization at that time.
Yes, and plus you didn't see us as equals back then at all. There was, so that it wouldn't be really clarification for that to be considered open contact, because open contact's made with equals and not beings that are perceived as slaves and beings that are perceived as deities.
That is a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Can you tell us what specific technologies or areas or categories of technologies will be discussed at Open Contact?
Medical science, as well as other avenues like assisting with hunger, environmental science, as well as others that will benefit the planet as well as your own physical bodies.
That is very exciting. Can you tell us how the fears of humanity and governmental structures will be allayed by the ETs to help us in accepting your help and presence?
Certain things. There will also be more, yes, governments will be assisting, but there will also be assistance of the ETs for certain energies, certain frequencies that will help humans get this type of information out, as well as helping be mostly through the assistance of our, not just us physically, but also the energy will also assist for it's already been publicly planned behind the scenes with different members of your civilization. So in ways, it'll be assisted by those specific individuals as well.
Okay. I guess we'll live with that. Do you know how many ships will be involved in the initial open contact event?
Well, for the introduction, there may be a ship involved in that one. But for after, there will be timing, but certain locations there might be just a few at a time specific to when it's on certain locations in certain areas on your planet that's viable for that introduction when it's time for your people to be introduced on a wider scale. So for the introduction, it'll have to start on a scale that's comfortable for humans needed. Perhaps there will be a few here and there, but as well as them landing, that will perhaps come at a specific entry point for on a greater scale.
So no numbers of ships.
Well, if I give you a specific number, it could shift and it will change to a different number and a different number and a different number and a different number.
Well, I was hoping maybe for a range like 3 to 8 or something like that. But whatever you wish to give us, Eric, it's all amazing information, and we are just blessed
For
to have you.
For the introduction, there may be 3, but we can't gauge on how many will show up after that.
I understand. How long will it be once open contact occurs before the Sasquatch become part of that and known to be part of that?
When you let go of the violent tendencies that you have for nature and other stuff.
Wow. So we have some time after open contact before they can safely come amongst us. And thank you for that.
Why do you think they've been avoiding you?
I would too if I was them. So I'm thinking it'll probably be 20 years or so.
Perhaps after that 2015, perhaps. I mean, that's the window that you're giving for the Great Reset.
Thank you very much.
So I would assume that there are groups in the government, the military perhaps, and so forth, that actually are preparing teams to interact with the first waves of open contact.
Preparing teams.
Yeah, of humans to interact with ETs.
We are aware, yes, we already know this for...
And so you'll be making physical contact with these teams right off the bat.
Teams that are well prepared for the physical interactions with us, yes, that will be necessary, but also be helping with those teams. For those specific teams, will also be helping the greater audience.
Well, I would assume that the greater audience starts being served the information. Let's say if there's a sighting of 3 ships that are parked over the White House, let's say. They actually are there. The information spreads pretty quickly. Is that what you envision in the case of this country?
Probably not over the White House, for there are differences in happening. We can't really say on how it will happen directly, but we can say that it will. We can say that it'll be on a public announcement scale level.
Okay. Anita, please, you have another question, and then Ray after that.
Yes. Thank you again for speaking with us. And which countries seem to be more ready for open contact? Could you comment on that?
Certain aspects, smaller areas, locations within the various locations within the U.S. seem to be more ready than most, but there are specific other locations, more indigenous locations, maybe. Cannot fully confirm that there are many locations that are ready and there are many locations that are not. So it's on a widespread, but be also dependent on certain areas within that location if they're ready as well.
I understand. It's hard to comment or broad brush an entire country when there may be just pockets of people. Will those people that are more ready for open contact actually receive open contact first before the worldwide general public?
It'll also go by dependent on the interactions that are necessary for the individuals for, and each individual might be different, and some might be more ready and not having physical contact yet, maybe because there is also timing to this. So it's not just about being ready, but that is one of the big parts. It's about also timing, which is another big part within that readiness.
Can you comment if heads of government in various countries have already agreed to open contact and agreed to the timing? In other words, is there anything that you can foresee that a government could do to slow down the timing of open contact?
There is nothing they can do to slow down the timing, for there are greater things than they can understand on the surface.
Okay. Good.
But yes, there are certain governments that are within. We already are aware that the United Nations is also working diligently with ETs in the background, for ETs are assisting behind the scenes, as well as in certain UN, United Nations. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Ray, please.
And interesting that you should say that. Do any of the current leaders know that they will be replaced before open contact occurs? Because Bashar says that our current president will not be a factor during that.
On a soul level, they may not know on the surface, but on a soul level, the soul goes what's necessary for what's needed.
That makes sense. Good answer. And you mentioned the Great Reset. Is that the 2050 number that you keep bringing up? And can
Well,
you
that's
explain more about that, please?
well, stars went into this before, but sure, we'll go into it in our own words. It is the Great Reset is when humanity will be comfortable with the idea of being part of an interstellar community. And it's also part of that change where everyone will be aware, the entire planet will be considered changed by that date in a way that is conducive for interstellar communication with more and more out in the among the stars.
That's exciting, and we're doing our best to bring it in sooner rather than later. I really appreciate that and getting your take on that because I had just heard the phrase before, but I didn't know what it entailed. So thank you very much for that.
Mm.
Are you part of that as well? I'm guessing.
I wouldn't be communicating if I wasn't, as I already clarified. I have been interacting with certain individuals behind the scenes, so I have been preparing this.
Oh, I know.
So,
Oh, I meant specifically with the Great Reset, which is going to be another 20-something years in the future. I know you're vastly involved in open contact scenario itself.
my race in general, yes, and I may be a part of that, but also it's dependent on what's needed. But yes, I most likely am going to be a part of this Great Reset as well, but it's also other members of my civilization as well as other civilizations as well.
Great. Can you tell us about how long that your race lives in our linear time of expression?
800 years.
That would be a lot of Social Security checks on Earth, but
Yes,
thank
but
you for that.
we don't abide by your earthly standards.
And we are so glad that you do not, Eric. Trust me. And now I know the human lifespans will be extended by greater nutrition and a higher vibrational living and better medical, not procedures, but methods and technologies. And it will be common for humans to live in excess of 100 years, correct?
Yes, 100 to 150.
Okay.
Relative.
That's a lot
It'll
of
be,
Social Security checks too.
yes, for there are humans who already can live over 100 years more readily. So in retrospect, it would be an extension on that 100 years as within the recorded amount of aging that you humans have gone through, which is around 120 years.
So would you say that the majority will be able to live to be 100? If the soul
Relatively,
permits?
it'll be more common.
Okay. That's a lot more birthday cards. Thank you very much, Eric.
Anita.
You're very welcome.
I have another question. How old is your civilization? And then how old is our civilization?
Gauging the age rate of our civilization may encompassed possibly millions of years, but it's also possibly a few 100,000 perhaps. But all I can say is we've been around during the time of Atlantis.
Did your civilization originate from Atlantis or here on Earth?
There's connection with the star civilizations within Atlantis. That's why we are connected. But there may have been some hybrids of Pleiadian and Atlantean. But we ourselves are descended from specific nature within genetic lineage within the human concept of the human genome within what you would call a more Lyran based, but that's also connected with us to the idea of the Anunnaki as well. For that connection also assists with the Lyran. But our civilization is a breakaway civilization. It's not our civilization is a breakaway civilization from the ancient civilizations that already visited Earth.
Thank you.
Angie, please.
Hi, so nice to meet you. Thank you for sharing this co-creative space with us. You were speaking about how this great reset is set for around 2050. And then after you were speaking about our lifespan going to be able to start reaching 100 to 150. And I'm wondering when you see that lifespan being extended to that degree in our current time frame. In other, because 25 years from now, I'm going to be getting up there. I don't know if I'll be around, let alone coherent enough to even know it's happening. If we're still on the same track now, if medical advances are out, but how slow are they to take effect? That kind of thing. What can we expect for like our group of people? Are we going to experience any of this longevity in life before these important times come about?
The idea of experiencing extended lifespans encompasses with your state of being and whether you are in the state of flow rather than focusing on the state of what you have been focused on is time. And when you're in that state of flow, your lifespan may be reduced and you may live longer life, depending. There's already been evidence in this for different reasons. The one that channels Bashar is already up there in age, but he's not really showing his age, for he's been in that state that allows him to live a much longer and healthier life.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to do with medical advances or even a shift in culture where it comes to what they are providing for people to consume, what its health levels or toxicity levels. It's really more
that is a small part of it that can be contributed. Yes, it works out. Yes, that can be also contributed, but we're not taking away from the health reasons. The health is actually important for you to be in the state more readily, more easily. Otherwise, your body wouldn't be able to handle higher vibrations if you keep eating toxic food.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. In that same vein, though, can you can you see on some level how long it will take our society to start living more healthily when it comes to the food consumption, and what is approved to be sold to the public, and you know what I mean? How long till that type of thing gets sorted out?
It may be within some time, maybe there will be some shifts depending on which country accepts the idea of open contact, and it might also shift their perspective on how they eat and as well. So it'll probably take some time, but depending on how fast, you can always make necessary preparations for yourself, but on a grand scale, it'll also be dependent on how society comes to accept these new changes that are happening.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question about the individual that we know as Daryl Anka that channels Bashar. In fact, I have a couple. One of them has to do with, has he been in any way contacted by any kind of authority in the government? Our government.
Why would I be able to speak on this? I can't speak on specific individuals. You remember that, right?
Okay. I'm trying to establish, trying to establish is what his current role beyond what we know it to be, could be. And also,
there is more to him, but you have to remember that I can't speak on any specific individual.
Okay, I got it. So let me ask a generic question. Are there currently individuals that are channeling? They could be first contact specialists or simply channeling ET energies that are in some way connected to the events that are about to happen, that have been in some way working with government entities here or anywhere?
Yes.
And will there be more of that as the event of open contact starts happening?
Yes, there will be more channeling, not just vocal channeling, but also on delivering messages I received telepathically from from ETs. That will also be correlated with the need for open contact and transparency as well.
Good. Thank you. You answer that. Does anybody else has any questions or comments?
Have to save some for Corey. Any parting messages, Mr. Eric?
Parting messages?
I asked you first. Yes, please.
Well, remain within yourself, follow your heart, and also align with your true self, your excitement, love, joy, passion, and be kind to yourself. It's always about the kindness that you can show to yourself as well as other people. That we have always given through messages, even if it's been mostly about contact, it's always about being kind to yourself.
I love that. That really resonated with me. Thank you so much, Eric.
We thank you and we send you our unconditional love, Pateo.
Thank you, Eric.
Pateo. And Aveo.
Yeah, the veil. Pateo is a word in their language, while Aveo is a word in the Sasani language.
Yes.
So yes, it works both ways.
Too.
That's also a word. Pateo actually means until we meet again. pateo means until we meet again. Which means that there's never an end to the conversation. That's what they wanted to clarify with that, also using that word.
And what does aveo mean and ha'atud? What do those things mean?
Those are words that were shared by Bashar, as aveo means thank you and ha'atu means I love you.
Aw. Thanks. That was really great, Travis. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Really powerful, Travis.
Can you sort of feel him still with you? Does he kind of linger at all or anything?
Sometimes. I mean, I usually when I'm focusing on the energy, I can feel their presence, like a sense, like sensations in my body. But it's not like he's not there. It's just that it's also dependent on where my awareness goes and where my awareness is needed. So he could still be there, and I am not fully aware, for he does observe in different interactions, not just here, but usually across the planet, certain individuals, for he has interacted with different individuals before in different ways.
Do they give you visuals when they channel through you, or is it just more of knowings?
Well, it also depends on if my visualization needs it. For I can easily I create visuals through my mind's eye that allows me to connect with specific entities that are necessary. So it's how I'm able to connect with different ones by using the visuals to create the images within myself that I use through my imagination as well. But sometimes it just creates sometimes it's not needed for those visuals to show up. For if needed, it will show up. Sometimes visuals show up automatically. Sometimes they're created through my own intuition and my own inner knowing.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Make sure the door's
well done, Travis. Well done. That was a lot of information.
A tremendous amount of information. I think we're ready to take a little break and get ready to see Corey. Travis, thank you so much. That was very in-depth, and I learned a lot from it. So it was beautiful.
You should be smiling.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you learned something too, Travis. It's good. It's excellent.
Yeah, Eric did a fine job walking that fine line between too much disclosure and not enough disclosure. We could see the gears going.